Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce to you my mother, Miss Lesser. She passed away this past February, and at the age of 93. So she lived a wonderful life, I must say. So probably about 2005, she suffered a stroke, and at that time, my father was her care provider, and really he covered for her very well. They eventually moved into a retirement home, and he was very diligent at making sure that what she said was correct, the utensils she used at the table were correct, she dressed appropriately, etc. When my father passed away, my mother came to live with me, and I very quickly found out that she was much worse than we realized. She had a lot of exit-seeking behavior and some periods of aggression, but for the most part was very kind and gentle. At that point, I recognized that she needed to go into a long-term care home, which she did, and lived there, as you can see with some of the pictures. She had 2 dolls, and as a mother of 5 girls, that's how she referred to them. They didn't have names. She called them her girls. So my mother was very mobile, a bit confused in her conversation, however, could function very well for a period of time. Then one visit my sister made, she was unresponsive, and my sister is a nurse as well. She took her pulse, turned out to be 30 beats per minute, and realized that she needed hospital care. So in the hospital, they diagnosed her with dehydration. And what that looked like, my mother became very sleepy, and as I said, unresponsive. And the nurses felt that, perhaps she had been up a night or two, roaming, hadn't slept as well, so they were letting her sleep. When we brought her back to the long-term care, she rallied quite nicely, and one of the things that we observed was afternoon snacks. So the snacks being brought in, the drink and the snack, and Mom didn't recognize really what she was supposed to do with the drink, although she knew enough to feed it to her dolls. So that's usually where it went. She felt the girls needed some nourishment, people weren't feeding them enough, and that's where she would give the drink. She also became a bit confused at meals. So she would put her creamer in her juice, and then when she would taste it, she would say, "Oh, this stuff tastes awful," and then she wouldn't drink it. She always had her tea after her meal, and so if the tea was brought first, she would drink the tea and then get up and leave the table because she felt that she was finished. So we went through several episodes of the dehydration, and not that, I guess, because I do teach the personal support workers, and I recognize how difficult it is in the long-term care homes to meet everyone's needs. And my mother was truly loved. The staff loved her. She loved them. I think that it's something that we take for granted, though, that when you set a drink down for someone, that they're just going to drink it. And lots of times I think that people need some supervision and encouragement to finish the drink, etc. So that would be one of the things, and one of the things that I always tell my students when we're out at placement is don't just go in and set the drink down. Make sure that you tell them what it is, you even hand it to them, get them to take a few sips of it, etc. Eventually what happened, I guess Mom's episodes of delirium where she became dehydrated became more frequent. And the last event was something that we had to then decide, do we want to continue with rehydrating or do we at this point allow her to go? And that is what we chose. We noted as well that she was changing rapidly, and her quality of life wasn't the same. She was worrying more about her girls. She was being a bit more uncooperative with the staff, etc. So again, I think that in hindsight, looking back on it, and Dr. Dasgupta talked about volunteers are great. However, family, you got the most results from that. And I think that if we had tried to arrange maybe being there for meal times, because she was functioning so well on her own, I don't think the staff felt that she needed supervision as much as she really did require. And then I think she sort of ran into some difficulties with that afterwards by not being hydrated. So that's kind of what my story, what her delirium looked like for us, was a very lethargic, sleepy, unresponsive episodes.